Hello, everybody. Today we have a very special guest with us. He's an SD5, which is a senior computer scientist at Adobe, and he's a system design mentor at our very own Geeks for Geeks. So, without any further ado, let's welcome Shivam Goel. Hi, Shivam.
Hey Nishida, hey everyone.
How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you?
Okay, so before we begin with the questions, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? Give a quick intro.
Yeah. So as everyone can see, my name is Shivam, and I'm working in this industry from last more than 11 years. I'm currently working at Adobe as a senior computer scientist, basically SD5 kind of role. So yeah, my day-to-day work involves mentoring new folks, writing code, doing the design reviews, code reviews, architecting, creating new services. So that's pretty much about me.
Well, I believe that everybody sees the Adobe title, but very few people know how the journey actually began. So, starting off, could you tell us which college you graduated from?
Yeah, so I graduated from JP Noida, JP Institute of Information Technology, Noida, Sector 62.
Ooh, likewise. And were you always a top student?
Oh, okay. So no, so I have never. I mean, I've never been the topper to say, but yeah. So I have tried to maintain that I get good marks and all those things, but yeah, I've never been the topper. So that's not something. But yeah,
So barely, basically a very good student, but not really the topper.
you can say that. But yeah, I think yeah, that's good to define, good to conclude. Yeah.
All right. So, in which year did you start your preparation for placements?
Okay, so my story is actually slightly different, right? So nowadays, like the students have a good amount of resources. They know what to do. They have a good, so they have mentors, all those things, right? So when I graduated, that was not the case, right? So we didn't have enough information about what to expect from an interview, what will be asked, what is DSA, right? DSA was there, but not enough resources were there, right? So that's why I was not very like, I mean, nowadays what people do is, what students do is, they dedicatedly study data structures, they dedicatedly give time for the placements, right? That was not the case, at least for me. So I was like, okay, the fundamentals were good. I had good understanding of the subjects, and then I think the interviews will be clear itself, right? That's what my goal was, right? And then I think a couple of interviews were also cleared, the initial few companies which came to my college. So that's how I actually got some offers. But yeah, actually I didn't actually focused a lot of time, or I can't say that I started from third year or fourth year. That's not the case. My only goal was the fundamentals should be very clear from the starting, and that's how it actually went.
All right, that makes fair sense. So, Adobe, was that an on-campus or an off-campus placement?
Okay, so when I graduated, actually Adobe didn't used to visit my campus, so for me it was an off campus.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
Now, when we talk about Adobe, what's one misconception people have about engineers working at Adobe?
Okay, so let me think. Yeah, so I think not just for Adobe, but in general, for any product-based companies or big companies, what I've seen people or students thinking is that you don't get to work on creating new stream or new services, new code, architecting new stuff. So people, at least what I've seen is, they think that generally you get to just add new features, right? Maybe just do some patching work because already the products are well matured, right? There are different hierarchies, there are architects and all those things. So that's what actually I've seen, but that's not the case. That's not true. You being a fresher or just let's say 1 or 2 years experience, get to own a service, new service, design it yourself, architect it, write the code, right? So I personally have done that in my team. I have seen new people taking that opportunity. So I think that's one misconception which people might have, and I just want to clear that with this, like during this stream.
Hopefully, anybody watching is aware of that now. Now, when we talk about big techs, right? Big techs without the IIT tag, do you think it's harder for tier 2 and tier 3 students to crack big techs rather than IITs?
So, okay, so think it of like this. So the thing is, if a company is visiting your campus, right, then things are slightly easier, right? So you already have someone knocking at the door, and if you have the
Hmm.
right skills you can just get through it, right? But let's say
Hmm.
you're from a tier 2 or tier 3 company, tier 3 college, and the company is
Hmm.
not visiting your college, then it becomes
Hmm.
slightly difficult, right? You need to prove yourself, you need to have a good resume, you need to have good skill set, like open source contributions, good at data structures, right? Good projects, internship. So all those things now become even more important because there are a lot of students, a lot of colleges, right, want to get into same companies. The input set is
Hmm.
small, and then they have
Hmm.
a lot of people, right? So that's where it is
Hmm.
slightly difficult. But if you have the right skills, if you have done all that what is required, I think anything can be achieved. So it should not be the case because even
So
that's
basically, a little bit more steps, a little bit harder, but it's definitely possible.
yeah. So it was a case for me as well, right? So Adobe
Hmm.
didn't visit my campus, but I am here. So yeah, it's nothing is impossible, I would say, and not even very difficult. But yeah, just few more steps, just some more hard work is what is required.
So now that we're talking about preparation, you did mention you were very focused on clearing out the fundamentals. So if you had to start over your engineering journey all over again, and you were still from a tier 2 college, what roadmap would you follow exactly?
Okay, so I would say nowadays, like, there are a lot of resources, people are aware, and then the pattern is also clear, right? What exactly the interviews are asking, what is being judged, or what is being checked in from a candidate, right? So I think what what students should do is in the first year they should focus completely or purely on clearing the fundamentals, right? Getting a good grasp on the foundations, right? First year for every stream in engineering is same, right? You're focusing on fundamentals, you're focusing on internals, so that's actually very important, right? So first, if your fundamentals are good, then I think you can clear any interview, right? Without that it is very difficult. Then moving on, maybe in second year you can start with some mini projects, right? You can start with DSA, right? Solving, because DSA helps you get good at problem solving, right? So you understand, okay, how to solve a problem, complex problem, how to tackle it, right? Because
Hmm.
every day in your organization, right, you'll get some problems. Some might be easy, some might be complex.
Hmm.
So when you solve DSA, that's the ability you are getting, right? That's the skill you are getting, that okay, how to tackle those problems and how to solve that. It's not that you will, maybe you will require graphs or trees in organization. Not, that's not the case. It's about how do you think about it, how do you solve it. That's exactly what you're learning. So maybe in the second year focus on DSA, some mini projects, right? And then third
Hmm.
year I would say you should focus on getting a good internship, right?
Hmm.
And then maybe some advanced DSA, and then finally fourth year is all for placements, right? So whatever is required, you should focus on that. OS, TS, basically operating systems, networks. These are some of the fundamentals which are very much asked in the interviews. So focus on those. So yeah, I think that's something anyone should be doing.
So now that you've given us an year-by-year roadmap, which is something that's going to be extremely helpful, one more thing that I want to ask you: you mentioned both projects and internships, and they're both important. But how important are internships compared to projects?
Okay, so the the world where we live in today, right? So with AI changing a lot of things, right? Now if I go back, let's say 3 years or 4 years back, project had a good role to play, right?
Hmm.
Because people, students were developing the projects of their own, they were thinking, they were building the projects, right? They were deploying
Hmm.
it, doing all those
Hmm.
things. Now what has happened is it is very difficult to judge or see if the project which the student is mentioning in the resume is actually built by himself or herself, or it is like some AI made project, right?
Hmm.
So that's where it is slightly difficult, right?
Hmm.
So that's where internships plays a major role. So if you have done actually an internship, right, that's like with a good company, you get to get an exposure of real world problems, right? You know how to work in an organization, right? So that's why I
Hmm.
would say, I'm not saying that don't do projects or just skip them just because like AI can do that as well, but you should definitely be doing that. But yeah, you should also be focusing on internship. That's equally important, or I would say even more important than projects nowadays.
Now, while internships are really important, people often don't understand what exactly is the right stage to apply for them. So, what, according to you, is the right time, the right stage someone should start applying for internships?
Okay, so yeah, so I think what so generally what happens is there are few colleges, the top ones, IITs and NITs, where companies actually visit for internship hiring, right? So for
Hmm.
next summer companies have already started visiting. right? Just like
Mhm.
in the last week, Adobe went to one of the at IT campus, right, for next year
Mhm.
internship hiring. So companies have already
Mhm.
started doing it. But let's say you're from a tier 2 or tier 1 tier 3 college where the companies are not visiting. So then I think second is the right time you start investing. You see, look for companies pages, careers pages where they are exposing or where they're putting their internship internship hiring. So just start applying for that. And before that you should have a good resume, right? When I say good resume, at least you should have a good uh, like GitHub kind of graph, green graph for DSA problems. You should have at least solved good amount of problems, right? At least one or two projects you should have thoroughly. You should be knowing that, right? Because in interviews the project will be definitely asked. So I think by mid of second year you should start applying for it, because in this third year, so in summers you should definitely be doing the internship.
Okay, so mid of second year is an ideal time for the same, right?
Yes.
All right, all right. Now, when we talk about system thinking, why is thinking becoming more and more important for big brands, specifically Netflix and YouTube?
Yeah.
What
So
do you think? Mm-hmm.
yeah. So consider this case, right? So the thing is, uh, for big brands, right? You mentioned Netflix and all this, right? The scale at which they operate is massive, right? It's not just about writing the code, it's also about handling the load, right? So let's consider Hotstar. So you are
Mm-hmm.
watching, like they have the let's say sponsorship for, or they have the contract for the rights for, let's say, IPL or maybe World Cup. So if this is a final match, World Cup final match, India versus Pakistan, right, you can expect how much turnaround would be there on the match video, right? So definitely you need to handle that load, and you cannot at any percent like let go that traffic, right? The website should never crash, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for that reason you need to handle that load. For that reason the system thinking is very important, right? So from the early ages, so whenever you start writing thinking about a function, you need to think as well, will it actually impact the performance, will it actually impact the current load the users we are serving, right? So very basic use case, right? Let's say you want to apply rate limiting on any API, right? Maybe
Mm-hmm.
tweets API or whatever, right? Now it should not be the case that applying a rate limiting API add some latency to my calls, right? Just because I want to ensure that some abusive behavior is not entering into my system, I cannot just add, let's say, 10 milliseconds of latency to every calls. That should not be the case. So these are some of the concerns or things you should be thinking yourself while implementing something. So I think that clears why system thinking is very important. It's actually because the scale at which you need to operate, this is mandatory, this is the core.
That is very understandable. Now, this is something I've been curious about. You teach system design to 1,000 of students. We do know your depth and knowledge in it is a lot, but why did you choose this subject per se?
Okay, so along with system design I also teach AI, generative AI. So that's also I'm teaching. But yeah
Hmm.
that's something which I just recently added. But yeah, system design I've been teaching for a lot of time. So the thing is why I chose this, because I personally feel that a lot of people are good at code, right? But when it comes to thinking about designing systems, right, that's where the major lack is, right?
Hmm.
Because there are good tutorials, good platforms, good websites, right, teaching how to write the codes, good code,
Hmm.
efficient code. But then there are
Hmm.
very few places where you learn how to design a system, right? That you get from an experience. But let's say an engineer never got an opportunity to design a service, or never got an opportunity to architect some system, right? So that's where uh, he or she won't learn it, right? So that's why I thought that, okay, why not share the practical exposure or knowledge I have been through by designing multiple systems which scaled well. Why not do that? So yeah, that's where the journey began.
That's a very noble cause per se. Why has system design become so important in today's time? You did mention how much load we have to take, but it is something that is becoming more and more important. So how did that happen?
Yeah. So again, so I think the first part I've already answered, because the scale and all those things that are increased, right? So because the thing is, earlier the access to internet was also limited, right? After
All
the
right.
like after Geo and all those things came, a lot of people like the access to mobile has increased, access to internet, 5G, 4G has increased, right? So consumers have increased a lot, right? Nowadays, YouTube, Instagram, all those, like, you can just see that the graph at which they are increasing the number of users, right? So with number of users increasing, the scale increase, and that's where the challenges increase, right? The second part to it is now it is more important after AI, because people are using AI like anything to write the code, right? And then also reviews are also happening mostly by AI, right? And then we have a human review as well. So it's very important that you understand what the code you are getting into the production, right? So that's where, like, I mean, AI or an agent will only have the context which you provide to them, right? A very limited set of context. But you as an engineer knows the system end to end. So that context is only available to you, right? So it's very important what context you provide to the AI so that the code it writes is actually efficient and performant. So that's where thinking from that perspective is very important with the AI coming into the picture.
Well, that's very, very reasonable. A lot of things in tech have changed because of AI. We will come to that super soon. Before that,
Yeah.
there's something I want to ask. System design is becoming an integral part of a lot of interviews. So, at what stage should students start learning system design?
Okay. So again, so if you go back in time, I was not never recommending students to learn system design in college, but now things have changed, right? Things have changed a lot, right? Because coding is no more the something which is like very like, no more a skill which is something very less in people, right? Because like nowadays mostly we are relying on agents to write the code, right? So it now becomes that, okay, now the most responsibility or the core thing which we are looking from the candidate is how well they think about systems, right? How can they, if they can design systems robust or not. That's where I think system design is becoming important from students also, right? So I think somewhere around third year is a good time. So because by the second year you have learned DSA, you've got a good grasp of it, right? So and you could have done some projects as well. So after doing that, I think DSA, then some development, projects development, and then the third step should definitely be system design. So somewhere around third year is the good time to start with design thinking.
Now, basically, the order that you would recommend is first DSA, then web development, and then system design, right?
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So, what is one system design topic you feel like everybody should understand?
Okay, so I would not say one system design. So because I would, but rather I would say that you should be able to design systems of different categories, right? When I say categories, I mean that, okay, there's one category for social media like Instagram, Facebook, all those fit in one category. So if you are able to design one system, you can design Facebook also, you can design Instagram also, you can design XYZ. Similarly, designs like which uses location, right? Uber, Ola, right? Zomato, all those kinds. And then there are systems wherein we need to uh, look for, like, let's say, searches, right? Twitter search, WhatsApp search. So I would say different categories does divide the broader categories we have. And if you're able to solve one problem in each category, then I think it is enough. And when I say why I say each category, because each category teaches you something, right? So if I'm talking about searching, how do I effectively design Twitter search or WhatsApp search, right? That's where you get a idea of how what is Lucene, how it is implemented, right? And maybe the search can be now taken from this design to anywhere in the production, wherever you feel, right? Similarly, so that's where I say that every design teaches you something, and if you have done each design once, then you are master. I mean, you know a lot of stuff which you can take from here and then use in any of the systems you design in future. So that's where I see it, not just one, but at least one from each category, right? Similarly, for chatting, we can just look at design for WhatsApp or Telegram or any of the application. So yeah, that's, I would say, not just one, but at least one from each category.
That's very fair because it's usually a holistic learning that matters instead of just one particular thing. Uh,
Definitely.
Now that we mentioned AI before, how AI has changed a lot of things, I just want to ask you a very classic question, which everybody has been asking: is AI going to take my job? Which is, will AI really replace software engineers?
Okay, again, this is my personal opinion, right? I think everyone has their different opinions. So I don't think AI would take job of anyone, right? So the thing is, I would rather say that AI is actually meant for augmenting, right? AI helps an engineer or anyone to do the work faster, right? And then basically not focus on any boilerplate codes or any repeatable task, right? If you're doing the same thing, let's say, manually more than two times, then there's a say that you should automate that, right? So for all those work wherein your complex thinking is not required, I think let's keep that and give away to AI. Wherever you require some complex thinking, deep thinking, right, all those work, so there I think you should focus more. So with AI, I see that it is actually helping us do the work faster, maybe 2x, 5x, or sometimes 10x as well. So that's where it is helping, but it's not taking away the job. When we say that, okay, there are a lot of layoffs and all those things, yeah, this is happening. Definitely it will happen because companies have to optimize their opex and all those things because they're spending on salaries as well as they are spending on the AI bills, so they will do that. But yeah, we should be always ready with uh, I mean, we should always be updated and ready to crack interviews in any of the company.
So basically, AI will take away all the redundant tasks, things that are technically holding us back in some ways, and will help us focus on things that actually require our deep attention, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
while you also mentioned that a lot of layoffs are happening, regardless of that, because there's a lot of manpower available in pretty much every industry,
yeah,
and with AI helping people focus on the deeper thoughts and the deeper learnings, people who have jobs that can technically be automated are pretty much on the edge of this. So when we talk about people who are getting laid off, what kind of engineers do you think are most at risk of this particular
so okay, so the thing is generally, again,
thing?
this is subjective to different companies, right? Different companies are
Hmm.
trying different ways to filter out whom to lay off, right? But
Hmm.
then what I would recommend is, uh, so what you should definitely be doing is you should not move away or fear from the AI. Just use it as much as possible for your day-to-day work, right? Now
Hmm.
if I tell you about me, right? So everything which I do, right, like from development to code reviews to looking at the alerts, everything is fairly, I have a skill for each, right? I use agents, I have custom harness, right?
Hmm.
All those things are there. So if those things are built for you, then it's very difficult for anyone to lay you off, right? But for someone who is still taking in the era of AI, right? Let's say some work used to take half an hour earlier, but now if you're still
Hmm.
taking the same time, then definitely that is something which is not justified, right? Because people companies spending on your salary as well, and then additionally they are giving you AI credits. So if you're still
Hmm.
taking the same amount of time, then the work is not being justified, right? You need to be 2x, 5x, 10x, right? And that's where
Hmm.
you need to use AI effectively to get to that point, and then I think you don't need to worry about the getting laid off or like that.
Well, it's like that saying that AI is not going to take your job. A person using AI will.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
feel like it's exactly the same thing,
Yeah.
where people who actually master AI are the ones who are going to take the jobs of people who don't use AI. Now, when we talk about this particular thing, you also mentioned you've shifted in teaching Gen AI also alongside system engineering. So when we talk about AI in general, a lot of people compare it to internet. They say how internet created many jobs, even though it took away some of the jobs. AI is doing the same. So what roles do you think are becoming even more valuable because of AI?
Okay, so again, there are two categories to it, right? One is obviously there are new roles being created, right, which didn't used to exist, right? Like
Mhm.
FD, forward deployed engineers, right? Those are some of the new roles which are being created. And then apart from that, the roles which become important are some of the roles like, okay, I think earlier we were not giving most, like a lot of importance to QE, right?
Mhm.
Because I think it's
Mhm.
like, okay, developers were used to do all the work, right? Now
Mhm.
with AI coming into picture, a lot of code being pushed every day, right, to production, AI, QE is even more important, right? And when I
Mhm.
say, I mean, I'm not saying that QE, the work of QE cannot be automated or cannot be replaced by AI. Definitely it can be, but the way you think, the way human thing is still, AI is still not there. It can be, it will definitely come maybe in 2 years or 3 years or so. But yeah, right now that is a skill I think which, like thinking what can break, what in what scenarios the code can break is actually very important, right?
Mhm.
So from that perspective, I think we should be thinking. So roles like obviously FDs, and then the AI roles, right? So Gen AI architects, you should be good at system designing the Gen AI, right? The more
Mhm.
agents, right? So I think those are like hiring like anything.
Well, that is true. Now that the system has shifted a lot and things have changed a lot for students, also coming back a little bit to the student perspective, do you think students should still be spending months, preparing for DSA and learning DSA now that AI is in the picture?
Yeah, definitely. So think it out like this. So we AI can write the code, right? But will
Mhm.
you say that we should not be knowing how to write a code, right? Definitely no, right? We should be knowing how to write the code, how to write effective code, right? Otherwise, how would we review the code? So it's
Mhm.
like that, right? So even if let's say AI is there, but as I mentioned earlier, also the when you solve a DSA problem, right? When that's not just to learn a specific data structure, maybe tree or graph, that actually helps you think broadly as to how to solve a problem, right? So the problem solving skills are being you're being trained on that. So that's where I think every day we solve a new problem. So I think that's very important. You should still be spending time, even if let's say you know that the you might not be writing the code. It's AI who would be writing the code on your behalf. But still, I would recommend that you should definitely focus on data structures, algorithms, because that's where the core lies, right? That's where the problem solving skills lies. So you get to learn, okay, this is a complex problem, how do you solve that? You think yourself, you brainstorm, you write a solution that is working, but then you push further and see, okay, can we optimize it? It's taking this much time, can we further optimize it? Can a n square on n log n operation maybe be changed to order of n, right? Or maybe log n. So that's where you think like that, exactly the same as you would think in while writing or creating a function or a service, right? So I think that maps one to one. There I would say this is really very important now as well.
That's true. Problem solving skills are something that probably will be needed till the end of the time. Nothing's gonna take that away. Now
Yeah.
that we're talking about AI, and you're a very experienced engineer with over 11 years of experience, if I'm not wrong. How has AI changed your own workflow?
Okay, so yeah, so earlier the thing, everything was manual, right? You write the code and you do initial review, submit it for review, and then obviously apart from writing the code, there are a lot of things we do, right? You need to look at the issues which the customers are facing. You need to debug the logs. You need to look at the alerts. Everything which I'm talking about is now an agent doing it for me, right? I have different agents who are doing that work for me. I have an agent who actually takes the requirement which is given to me by a product manager. That agent will take the requirement, that will write a detailed PRD. I'll be reading that, I'll be evaluating if that is good enough. If that is good enough, then there is an agent for me who will be creating the LLD. I will review the LLD. If it looks good, it's okay. Otherwise I will discuss and optimize or refine the LLD. And then again there's an agent who will write the code and do the HLD. So that's where I have different agents, different personas who are helping me do the work effectively. And then similarly for on call also, right? Debugging alerts, because that's something very tedious, right? You go to there's an alert, you go to multiple places, right? You look for logs, you look for metrics, and then any deployment happens. So there are set of steps predefined which you do, right? So why not automate that? Why not have an agent with a brain and thinking similar to how I would think, do the work on my behalf, at least some preliminary analysis, and then obviously I can take over. So I think all the places, and basically wherever I feel that okay, something an agent can do on my behalf, if not 100%, but at least 80%, I try to leverage AI for that.
Well, that's very, very fair, and absolutely no reason not to do that. Now, when we talk about skill set that you mentioned it multiple times, that the skills that were required before and the skills that are required now are a little bit different because of AI in general. So, what skills do you think will matter the most over the next 5 years?
Okay, so I would say uh, the skills which are relevant now, they still would be relevant. I mean, if you are good at writing the code, that is still very important, because otherwise you can't review the code well. Because code review is something which will now be rewarded more than writing the code. Like earlier, I would say that writing the code was more rewarded, and code reviews were like, okay, this was a side work and not much appreciated or not much rewarded. But it is other way around. Like doing the code review is actually more important, because the code is now being generated by someone you can't trust AI, right? So that's where code reviews are more important. So that's one skill which is very much required, right? Debugging all those things, because now the earlier what happened was you get a feature, you write the code, so you understand in and out, right? You know, okay, I have written that function, so it should behave like that. But now since AI will write the code, you will not have 100% understanding of the code which went into the production. So that's where when the issue happens, you rely more on the AI than yourself. So even debugging and all those things skills are actually being more important than ever, right? Then I would say earlier the software engineers were not focusing much on AI stuff, right? They were a different team. They were machine learning engineers, then they were normal system engineers. Now I would say even for system engineers like me, AI is very important. You should understand the fundamentals of AI. You should understand the transformer model, how the models are created, right? How do you, what are the parameters, how does it work internally, right? What models work best for which use case, which model do I use, right? I have different use case. I should be updated in all those areas, right? Every day different companies like Anthropic, OpenAI, and all those are releasing a new feature. So I should be up to date with that, because that's where over the next years I need to use and optimize my work. So I would say, yeah. So these are some of the skills which become even more important for an engineer. So don't just now be live with systems. Enter into the era of AI. Learn the fundamentals of AI, at least to some extent, right? A model should not be a black box for you. It should not be that okay, you make a call to OpenAI with a prompt and get the response. That should not be the case. At least have a basic understanding how a transformer work is internally, right? When you make a query, when you make a prompt, let's say you just make a basic prompt to a agent, or a let's say chat GPT or Gemini, how it is able to respond back, that at least should be clear to you, right? Earlier, compare it to a earlier set of problem, right? You enter www.google.com in a browser, what happens, right? So it is similar in this case, right? When you give a prompt to the Gemini or chat GPT, how exactly is the response being created, right? You get that. So I think those are some of the skills which we should definitely invest in.
Definitely, tech is an ever-evolving field, and people who stop at the wrong time are the people who normally are on the edge of these things. So you're right, definitely. Now, moving on to one of the last chunks of this interview, we'll have a rapid-fire quiz where you have to answer immediately, and then you can give an explanation to the answer. So first, what is a better investment, DSA with system design or web development?
It like for me, it will definitely be DSA with system design.
And why?
So I think, as I mentioned, right, that's the foundation, right? Before that, without even doing that, you should never move to development, right? Because if you're moving to development, then you are just the fundamentals are not clear, and you just started with the development. I would never recommend that. I always start with the basics, do the fundamentals, and then move to development. Both are equally important, but if you compare, obviously, first one is the core. So you should definitely spend more time on that.
Fair enough. Okay, work remote or office?
Okay. Again, I would not choose one of these, but I would choose a hybrid kind of model, wherein let's say
Oh,
you spend some of the time in office, because the innovation, the meetings are good to do in the office, and but then when you need some focused time to write the code, then obviously you can work at home. So I would recommend a hybrid kind of approach, wherein let's say few days are in the office, and then a couple of days in the home where you get focused time.
best of both worlds, basically.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay. Okay, an AI assistant that you use the most.
Okay, so it's like generally changing, but nowadays I'm using Claude a lot.
That's very very understandable. Okay,
Yeah.
the most underrated tech skill according to you.
Okay, so yeah, so I think what generally people don't appreciate, or like appreciate most is like the system internals, right? How does a Linux work, how does internal memory allocation, all those things work, right? And then they just focus on the like writing the code. Maybe you created an application maybe in Java, but you don't know internals. I mean, what how would a code be able to get the memory from the Linux, right? How much heap it will get, all those things. That's where it is very important that the system internals, Linux, and all those things should definitely be is actually a skill which is very underrated. But then if you learn it, then you can like it's very good. I have personally improved the performance of a lot of components in my organization by optimizing few parameters at the Linux level, at the OS level, and that's really helped us a lot. Right, again, and at the same time saved us a lot of cost also. So that's where I would recommend that the system fundamentals, or basically the internals, should definitely be is one skill which people underrate a lot. But yeah, that's very very much required.
Yeah, I am going to learn system fundamentals after this interview. I feel like I'm missing out now. Okay,
Right.
now what is the toughest interview that you've ever faced?
Okay. So again, I mean, I think uh, so. So the thing is, I would not say toughest, but yeah, I have faced a couple of interviews. But then the thing which I like is the problem which I get in the problems the company, right, in the interview, right. So what I've seen is let's say I'm going to interview for, let's say, Google or Microsoft, right? But I what
Mhm.
I really like is the design problem which I get generally, at least from my personal experience, is what the company is actually working on. So let's say I went to a Google interview, right? So the problem which was asked me was very much related to the core work which they are doing, right? The source work, right? So that's where I think it was really good, because they're not just asking a hypothetical question, but they actually are asking something which they are solving. I'm not saying that they asked me to design a search, but something which they are right now solving, which is already there. They have not solved that, even they have not solved that, but they are asking me to design it. So that's a very good discussion, I would say. So I would not say toughest, but yeah, something which is not even solved or completely by them. They're discussing it with me, and then we are agreeing on a consensus. So I think, yeah, that's something which I really enjoyed. I would not say toughest, but yeah, I really enjoyed.
All right. And oh, what's one habit that changed your career?
Okay, so I would say that, uh, so just try to be on top of new things coming in the industry, right? I mean, just keep yourself updated is what I would say. So nowadays, I think you should be on top of the new models being released, how a new model is different from the older one, what what additional benefits, or how what makes it better than the other one, right? How what is the internal architecture if the company is publishing it, right? Then so that's, I think, one habit which has changed. So I try to keep on top of new things in coming in the industry, and that's where maybe I am able to use a lot of new stuff in my own work as well. So I would say I would definitely recommend the same thing to everyone. Just try to be on top of the new stacks and new things. Just see different, just read blogs being written by renowned people in the industry, right? So yeah, I think that's a good habit to have.
That's very understandable. I remember we used to have a lot of discussions about AI with all the mentors present. Also, we even have a channel, School of AI, for to
Oh,
help people stay on top of everything
yes,
AI.
yes, yes,
So,
yeah.
guys, please go check that out. Now, there's one more question I do want to ask you. What's one piece of advice that would have saved you years?
Would have saved me years.
Yeah, like a lot of time.
I need to think about it. Just give me a couple of minutes. Let me think. What is that one thing which have saved me years? So not years. I can't think of something which can save me years, but yeah, definitely. So I think I was very late into the AI race, right? So I started
Mhm.
with agents development and all those things like last year, in January around, right? But
Mhm.
had it been a couple of years back, maybe in a year prior, I think I would have saved a lot of time. Right, what I can do now in an hour used to easily take me 5 to 6 hours earlier. So I think if I would have shifted to that race or that those things, I think it would have saved me a lot of time.
Basically, getting onto AI a little bit earlier. So,
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
for everybody who's watching. If you guys are not on AI already,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I think your entire software development life cycle, right, from
Hmm.
writing the code to writing unit test, integration test, testing, deployment, everything should be, there should be an agent doing that for you. I'm not saying just the agent. You should be in the loop. You should be reviewing every stuff, every each and every step. But definitely the first cut or first thing should be done by AI. You do the review. If you're satisfied, just move it. So don't just rely. I mean, don't just do everything yourself. There should be an agent doing that on your behalf. So yeah, that's that's something
That's
I would
that's
say.
that's actually really great. Before we end this interview, there's just two more questions that I'm going to ask you.
Sure.
Firstly, from a company's perspective, uh, does the approach, the mindset the student has, how they're coming to a solution matter more, or does them reaching to the final answer correctly, unprompted matter more?
Yeah, it's undoubtedly the first one, right? So the thing is, think it of like this: when you are appearing for interview, right, the interviewer is actually there to hire you, right?
Mhm.
Interview would never come with a mindset that they don't need to hire you, because
Mhm.
I personally feel the pain, right? We want to hire a candidate, and then we are taking a lot of interviews, right? No one will take spend an hour again and again just to hire one candidate. So the interviewer
Mhm.
always comes with the mindset that they want to hire you. So that's where they
Mhm.
try to ask you questions which you can answer, right, from your stream. So let's say you have worked on certain tech or certain things, so they'll ask you questions related to that, right? So that's where they're trying to extract what you have worked on or what you know, how well do you know that, right? So that's where you should think, discuss your approaches you are taking, so that the interviewer knows where you are leading, and in case you are going in the wrong direction, they can guide you, right? Because obviously the thing is, it's a mutual discussion. It's not always one sided, that okay, you solve the problem, just give me final code and that's it. No, they need to. So the thing is, interview needs to see how well you are thinking, right? What are different cases you consider, right? What are different options you considered? Did you weigh them both? Okay, what is better, what is not, trade off, all those things. If you are able to understand, explain those, the interview will definitely guide you if you're going in not the right direction, and take you to the closure. So that's where I would say, it's always first, think out loud. I recommend that to every person I meet, every student I meet, that okay, I always think out loud. Just state that okay, this is what I'm thinking, this is how I'm trying to solve the problem. If do you have any recommendations or any suggestions on that? And I think just keep interacting with the interviewer, just do regular check-ins, and I think that should be good.
Okay, that is very fair. We're just getting a few more questions from the end of stream also. So would it be okay if we ask you that as well?
Yeah, sure.
There's a student who wants to know, is CGPA truly important when you're sitting for placements off campus or on campus?
So again, as far as you're meeting the minimum criteria for any company, I think
Hmm.
that's it, right. So there are different companies who have a certain criteria that okay, you should have at least 6 or maybe 7. So as far as you are meeting that, you are able to sit in the interview. Then whatever matters is what your answers in the interview, nothing else, right?
That is
So
that is very fair. It's just like
yeah,
a cutoff of sorts.
exactly. So you should at least get a chance to sit in the interview, and then in the interview just prove yourself, right? Just show your skills, and that's it. Then even if let's say you have a 9 pointer or 10 CGPA, and you are not good at an interview, then there are very less chances that you'll get selected.
That is extremely fair.
Yeah.
Now, the last question of this particular stream before we end the stream is there any last thought or advice or just any random thing that you would like to say to our viewers before we end this particular stream?
Yeah, so I think don't I think what I would say or what I would conclude is, don't worry about layoffs or anything like that, right? Just be prepared for any situation, right? I would say just be prepared. So even if let's say you're not going to change the company, right? You're not thinking to switch, but you still should be prepared that let's say you have to give an interview tomorrow, you should be in a state that you can clear that, and that actually helps you clear the interview also, and actually be good at the work. So don't worry about layoffs. Just be prepared in case anything worst happens, and in case anything happens, then you are already prepared. So I think that's something which I would close with. So just be prepared, just and then I think it'll always be good. Just yeah.
That is a very solid advice. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Shikhar, for coming on this podcast with us. I'm very, very sure a lot of students would have benefited a lot from this. And it was a pleasure having you. Thank you so much.
Same. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.